Sonic Superstars is playable here at Summer Game Fest, and we got hands-on with the short demo that was available. Now, Jean-Luc, give me your initial impressions of Sonic Superstars.
So we got to play 2 stages. The first is like the not Green Hill Zone,
yeah.
and then the second was like a jungle stage. I played as Sonic, and I play as Amy. Sonic plays like Sonic.
Sure does.
Amy plays like Amy. She's got the hammer. It's classic Amy, her classic design, which I love from Sonic CD. And I mean, yeah, I think the big question people had is like, does this feel like classic Sonic? Because
Sure,
I mean, admittedly, like it doesn't feel maybe as special because we already had Sonic Mania. But to be fair, like this is not made by the Sonic Mania team. So I think the question was like, can this team also kind of capture that classic magic? And I would say the answer is yes. Like it definitely like, you know, I think it has all the staples of classic 2D Sonic. The stages felt very expansive. Just the brief time went through it, I was like, wow, like there's some like levels of like layers and verticality to it that felt very large. But I mean, yeah, like all the stuff's there. They had the Chaos Emerald stages, which is like this weird 3D, you're like grapple hooking to try and like catch the Chaos Emerald, which I thought was kind of fun and just like a little neat diversion. But what's interesting is when you get the Chaos Emerald, you then unlock a power. Like the first stage of Sonic, I unlocked the ability, you unlock water, and then you can turn into like a little like gelatinous water version of Sonic, and then that allows you to like go up a waterfall, and it seems kind of based on like, this just essentially just opens up like a alternate path that you can go around. The other option I got was like decoy attacks where you can send like copies of yourself on screen to fight enemies, which I had as Amy, and it looked really goofy, or like it's just like 20 Amy's just go like flying on the stage and hit everyone, and I thought that was like funny. So yeah, it seems like they're kind of mixing a combination of this is for traversal versus this is for like dealing with enemies. As far as how those like impact the overall feel of the game, they did feel kind of limited because you would just like activate them and they would be available for like 30 seconds and then they'd go away and then they were on like a cooldown, so you couldn't use it for a while. So you kind of had to be like deliberate when you used it. But like otherwise it's just like, yep, this sure is 2D Sonic, and if you like 2D Sonic, I think you're gonna be real happy. And if you don't like 2D Sonic, like this is this ain't gonna change your mind.
It's not gonna change your mind.
Exactly.
I got to talk to Takashi Iizuka, who's been a producer on the Sonic series for a very long time, and that's basically what he told me, was that, you know, Sonic Frontiers is a modern interpretation of Sonic in a 3D world, whereas Superstars, what they're trying to do is channel that same energy from Sonic Mania. And you know, Sonic Mania was a great game on its own, and it also had that old school pixel art, that retro style that everyone kind of fell in love with through the years with Sonic. So not only is Superstars modern in the graphical sense because they are using like actual 3D models, more modern art style, with that along being a 2D adventure game, but it's also the Emerald powers that you mentioned, opening up different parts of the stages. And I think that's the most impressive part from the demo that we saw, was that just how expansive those are, because you are going, like, you got to go right? It's you know, make it to the boss, fight the boss. But I noticed, especially in the jungle stage that you mentioned, there's so much to explore. There's so many avenues that I saw and thought, like, okay, on my second run, maybe I'll try to go all the way up, and I almost forgot that I had the power, that waterfall power, that just opens up a totally different part of the level that you don't see. So I do think that there's something more there than just being like, oh, we're slapping modern graphics on traditional Sonic. So that's promising. But again, I think the quirks of Sonic still very much show through. Some of the boss battles were fun. I liked the mechanics that they were showing, but at the same time, you know, it's it's not like you're going to be playing a Mario Odyssey being this big jump for the series.
I would kind of equate it to like the way Nintendo hasn't done this in a while, but like I feel like on the Wii they kind of did the thing where you'd have like your Mario, big 3D like Mario Galaxy, but then you'd have like new Super Mario Brothers, which was just like classic 2D Mario, and like this feels like that's what they're doing with Superstars as like a complement to Frontiers, like you said, and I do like that. Like that is, I think, a good path for Sonic as a franchise to take.
And that's what Izuku mentioned. Was
Okay,
that, like,
great,
we have,
perfect.
Well, like, this isn't supposed to be like the flagship entry. Like, they have Frontiers, they have Superstars, so they have like this dual track to kind of, I guess, please Sonic fans in different ways with what they're doing with the series. So, but yeah, it was a fairly short demo, but I do want to bring up co-op.
Sure.
Which we didn't necessarily get hands-on with, but I did talk to Izuka about how that works. So this is the first Sonic game, I believe, with 4-player co-op. I'm not sure how it's going to work in terms of, because like Sonic can go fast and he's going to be ripping through those stages. But there's like a tether system to make sure that everyone kind of stays together.
But dragging your little brother along the stage.
But I do, like you mentioned, playing Amy, and then Knuckles and Tails also have their traditional powers. So they're not necessarily like revamping any of the characters. They're going to do the things that you know and love about them throughout the stages. So, but yeah, I mean, it sure is Sonic, and I hope that like the people looking for that thing are going to find what they're looking for in this game.
Exactly. Yes.
So those are our impressions of Sonic Superstars, which you can expect this fall on all the major platforms. And if you want to learn more about Sonic Superstars, stick with GameSpot.